Hi everyone, my name is Connor O'Day. I'm a visiting assistant professor at Union College, and I am excited that you stopped by so that I could share my research with you. Now, before I get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the SPSP Small Research Grant. So I received an SPSP Small Research Grant earlier this year, and that was what allowed me to conduct two of these studies that I'll be presenting today. And then my undergraduate student, one of my collaborators, Sam Rapp, also received a Skidmore College Student Opportunities Fund. So each of these funding entities allowed us to actually run what we think are some really neat studies, and we appreciate all of the support. So with that, I'm excited to share with you my research on Stand Up for Yourself, masculine honor beliefs, bully victimization, and school shootings. So masculine honor beliefs are expectations for men, and we've actually shown here recently that these also extend to women to defend themselves, their significant other, and their property from threats. And what that means is that if someone insults you, if someone steals something that belongs to you, it's important for you to reestablish your position as someone that's not to be messed with. Now, unfortunately, what we've started to theorize, and I'm happy to share one of my recent papers that I've been working on with you if you're interested, but what we've been applying this to is the examination of individuals who are suffering from bullying in adolescence. And what we expect is that these, whether parents are explicitly or inexplicitly telling their children to, stand up for themselves and these things, it may actually lead to extreme forms of violence that we see in society, like school shootings. So we ran 3 studies in which, in study 1, we manipulated whether a boy or girl adolescent child was being bullied, and we measured participants' perceptions of the acceptability of verbal and physical aggression in response to that child. So what you can see here is that in study 1, we have masculine honor beliefs along the x-axis of both of these graphs. We have perceptions of physical confrontation and then verbal confrontation. The blue lines here are going to be when the child was a male child, and the green lines are when the child was a female child. And what we're seeing is that higher levels of masculine honor beliefs were associated with significantly greater endorsement of both physical and verbal aggression in response to the bully, and we see that the strongest relationships here were between masculine honor beliefs and perceptions of the acceptability of physical violence. Extending these findings, in study 2, we again manipulated whether an adolescent child was a boy or a girl, and we said that they were being bullied, and then we actually went ahead and manipulated how the child responded. So they either responded aggressively or they ignored their bully. So again, the findings of study 2 are presented here. Along the x-axis, we see masculine honor beliefs ranging from low to high values. And then we measured perceptions of the bully victim's honor when they chose to ignore, which is this first graph, or when they chose to fight against the bully, which is the second graph. Now, what we found was that higher levels of masculine honor belief were associated with significantly more or significantly greater perceptions of victim honor when that victim chose to fight against their bully, to the point that it actually looks like it's almost getting higher than when the child chose to ignore their bully. And there was no relationship between masculine honor beliefs and perceptions of the child when they chose to ignore. And this graph actually slightly goes against some previous research that I have done examining these effects with adults. Typically in adults, if an adult does not confront a threat or insult, especially if the adult is a man, we actually start to see negative relationships here. But for children, it doesn't seem that they're held to quite as strong of expectations as adults. So the big takeaway here is that yes, masculine honor beliefs, like we would expect, are perceiving, people higher in these ideologies are perceiving a greater honor when the child chooses to fight against their bully. Finally, extending these findings in study 3, we manipulated whether we actually presented people with a news story that we had created. This was a fake news story in which a child had committed a school shooting, and we manipulated whether the child had been previously bullied, whether the news story described that child as mentally ill, which is something that is generally frowned upon, and seeking mental health services is frowned upon in cultures of honor, so we were interested in that condition as well. And then also a control group in which we didn't specify the reason that the child gave for their shooting. And rather fortunately, but also unfortunately for our data analysis, we did hit pretty strong floor effects here. So we have masculine honor beliefs again on the x-axis, and perceptions of the victim of the bullying, so the school shooter here, as honorable on the y-axis, as well as how long of sentence lengths that our participants reported for those individuals. We see no relationship with masculine honor beliefs and perceptions of the honorability of the victim, or the school shooter. Instead, almost all of our participants just said that there's no honor in this behavior, which is good for society, not really great for our statistics here. In terms of sentence length, we did start to see that there were actually positive relationships between masculine honor and sentence length for both the controlled and the mentally ill conditions, but there was no significant effect in the bullied condition. And actually, the control condition, this was not actually significant either. But the one that participants, at least those higher in honor, seemed to understand a little bit more, again, was the victim who had been previously bullied. And so the key takeaway here is that, consistent with our hypotheses, masculine honor beliefs are related to greater endorsement of violence by victims in response to bullies. However, we did find that these endorsements or these expectations do have limitations. But there's an important caveat to that, is that children might not realize that their parents do not endorse these extreme forms of violence, and the expectations or the things that adults are saying to kids that they should stand up for themselves may be misconstrued by individuals who are currently going through puberty, experiencing an influx of emotions, and who are also experiencing the negative effects of bullying behavior. And thus, unfortunately, these expectations, combined with the hormonal fluctuations during puberty, potentially the negative effects of bullying, these ideologies may unfortunately still promote the extreme forms of violence that we see by adolescents, even if this isn't actually reinforced by their parents. So with that, I appreciate you stopping by. I'm super excited about this project, and we will hopefully soon be submitting this for publication. Please let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts. I'm happy to answer them. My email address is provided here at the bottom, and I would love to chat with you more about this project.